Hello, everyone. Hi, and welcome to Steve Rosenfield's stand-up comedy workshop show. This is the online edition. Okay, we have comedians performing from all across the country today, and they've all trained together in a workshop conducted by the award-winning comedy director, the author of the book Mastering Stand-Up, and the founder of the American Comedy Institute, Steve Rosenfield. So we have some comics making their stand-up comedy debut this evening for you. And we're so excited to have them on the show. And I'm going to be your host today. My name is Michaela. A little bit about our program. Steve founded ACI all the way back in 1989. And we have had alumni appear on The Tonight Show, The Late Show, Conan O'Brien, Gotham Comedy Live, Saturday Night Live. They have specials of their own on Netflix, Hulu, Peacock. They perform all over the world. So someone that you see tonight could be at the very beginning of a wonderful comedy career. And thank you so much for joining us wherever you are. We have workshops every month, by the way. The workshops are online and our shows are online, like this one on our YouTube channel and also in New York City at Gotham Comedy Club. I'll tell you more about it in a little bit, but we will start with me. Hi. I live in this city behind me. I live in New York, grew up in New Jersey, and I'm from an Italian American family. Yes, but I'm not as Italian as I thought I was. A devastating realization. I thought I was super Italian because growing up, my dad always taught me that meatball subs can regulate your digestive system. That was something he believed with his whole heart. Also, I thought melanoma was just a guy from Sicily who kept trying to kill all my uncles, and I was going to get him. I made a vow. So even though I'm not as Italian as I thought, I do have a plan for my future. I'm going to just write some Italian American inspired children's books in the future. I have a ton of ideas. One Fish, Two Fish, The Feast of the Seven Fishes will be my debut. That'll do it. You give a mouse a calzone. What happens when you give a mouse a calzone? He's going to need a side of sauce. Or Goodnight Moon, you son of a bitch. Okay, because the moon knows what they did. The moon knows. So that's about how Italian I was. I do, of course, have like a list of favorite cheeses. That makes me pretty Italian too, I guess. But, Parm's always going to be number one for me. I love living in New York City so much. I loved it so much. I took a test about it and I got a license to become a tour guide of New York City. And I love being a tour guide. I joined a club. There's like 400 of us, two very distinct groups. Lots of like older, sophisticated, very smart gay guys. And then there's the other group. These are the city witches. You know them. Have you seen them walking around the city? Like they walk 30,000 steps a day, but if they sit down, they cannot get up. It's tough. I imagine them like hovered over their cauldron in their apartment, like with one cup of air conditioner drippings and the feather from the meanest pigeon on the block, just steaming hot deli coffee, and poof, a 1,000-year lease in Greenwich Village for $28 a month. That's how they do. They're magical creatures. They're magical. And I love them. I'm a city witch in training. And they do give the best tours. I went on a tour with this one lady and she's like, come over here, come over here. On this spot in 1972, I pegged Rudy Giuliani in the ass. New York City history. Come on, come on. Come next stop, next stop. She was a great tour guide. It was good. It was good. I feel comfortable with you, being that I can't hear any of you or your commentary enough to tell you that in college, I was a lesbian. I was, and I still am because I'm not a quitter. I won't give up. I won't give up. Mostly because I have such great advice from my family. I mean, I do have an aunt who has a wife. They've been together a long, long time, and they came out like in the 80s, much different time. So I'll ask them for advice like, hey, how do I impress this girl that I just met the other day? And they're like, okay, here we go. Here's what you're going to do. Step number 1. Marry a man, wait 10 to 12 years. Wait it out. Okay. Give it a decade. You're playing the long game. Like, no, I don't want to do that. This is, yeah, no. And then at your all girls poker game, okay, on Tuesday night, you're going to go up to your friend Debbie, give her a passionate but clumsy kiss on the side of the cheek. Wait 10 to 12 more years. It never happened. Okay. Deny. Then at your goddaughter's communion, Debbie's invited. She's like family. Don't worry. You're going to kiss her full on the mouth. Tell her you'd die for her and live happily ever after. In secrecy. Never tell anyone what you've done. Okay? Don't tell anyone. Does that help? I'm like, it does not, but I love you guys so much. I love you so much. You're great people. That'll be it for me tonight. I'm so excited to bring up your comics. They, again, are from all over the country. My very first comic performs all over Washington, D.C. and New York City. She's a great friend. So all the way from Washington, D.C., please give it up for the lovely and funny Yelena Kulik.
In Russian, there is no word for fun. The closest word is joy. And there was a problem for me when I was young, because on a first date, if the guy asks me, what do you want to do tonight? I can't just say, let's have fun. I have to say, let's have joy. And I was not ready to have joy on my first date. In Russia, we have universal health care, mental care. Only we don't call it therapy. We call it cigarettes and vodka. Yeah, my dad was smoking these unfiltered cigarettes. And I told him, Dad, don't you worry what it's doing to you? He's like, nah, I'm not afraid of cancer. I'm not afraid of radiation, not afraid of anything. Nothing could break me except your mother. You know, the way my dad proposed to my mom was by telling her, I want to unlock the deepest secrets of love with you. And exactly 9 months later, I was born. I guess my mother's luck had an easy combination. She wanted a boy. Instead, I showed up. She blamed my dad. I call him a wimp. Well, I think my dad was a hero for getting this close to my mother. So, when I was growing up, my parents were very conservative. So when I was in high school, I wanted to start dating boys. And so I came to my dad and I asked him, I said, can you tell me something about sex? And he said, Yelena, I'm glad you asked, because I want to give you some vocabulary about sex. It's very important for you to know. It's crabs, herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis, and AIDS. So I was a virgin until I was 24. And so my boyfriend at the time asked me, how are you still a virgin? And I said, try to live with my mother. He's like, well, if you're not going to have sex with me, maybe I will. So growing up, my mother told me that women should have small feet because that's how men like it. So she always made me wear shoes that were way smaller than my actual size. And it hurt to walk in them. So after a while, I was thinking, this is going to cripple me. So, and I asked my mom, I said, I don't think I can walk around much longer. So how do men feel about women in a wheelchair? So my sister is so gullible. She told me that she met Brad Pitt online and they now become friends. And I said, you're crazy. This is not Brad Pitt. Did she ask you about any charity donations? And she said, oh yeah, she told me that I should donate $10,000 into his favorite charity for homeless. I said, oh my God, this is a romance scammer. And she said, a couple weeks later, she told me, you were right. And I said, what made you be so sure about that? And she said, well, another friend of mine also told me exactly the same thing. And I said, who's that friend? Denzel Washington. So Putin is saying that Ukraine started the war. So if Ukraine started the war, should be that war in Russia? I mean, how do you start the war with the country and never go to that country? Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to believe now that Mr. Zelensky said, I now declare the war against Russia, and we're going to fight that war where it should be fought. Putin is running out of troops. You know, he's emptying prisons and hiring mercenaries to fight this war. You know, if I was a Girl Scout in Russia right now, I'll be getting nervous. So my sister just celebrated her birthday. I don't want to celebrate my birthdays anymore because anything more than 18 candles on a cake does not look festive to me. It looks like Amazon forest burning. Thank you so much. I love you.
Yelena, love you too. You got me thinking about the American Revolution, though, because I've never been to England, okay, and I don't want to go. I like this country. This is a good one. No, I do kind of want to go to England. Anyway, great stuff, Yelena. Your next comedian coming to the screen is going to be making their stand-up comedy debut. We're so glad to have him on the show, all the way from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Please give it up for Andrew Bork.
Thank you. When my wife and I started dating, she turned down an internship at NASA because she didn't want us to break up because of a long-distance relationship, which should have been the first sign that she wasn't as smart as I thought she was. This country's been shooting down a lot of spy balloons lately, but I think instead of shooting them down, we should just confuse them by having them intercept my wife's phone calls and texts. We could be late to a party, and when we get to the host's front door, she'll text the host and be like, can we bring anything? And then just stand there waiting for a response. I'm confused. Shouldn't we just go in? We're 40 minutes late already. One day she texted me, accident. I said, are you okay? She said, yes. When I get to the accident, the fire department's there. The police are there. I said, you were in this accident and you texted? Our car is upside down and there's broken glass everywhere. Didn't that merit a phone call? My wife loves to go to the beach on vacation, but I don't. I got to cover myself in sticky sunscreen and then roll around in Earth's glitter. When I get done at the beach, I look like a red Christmas tree ornament. I've been also having issues with my local internet service provider. Let me put it this way. If judges in this town, instead of handing out jail time, handed out contracts with the company I use, crime in this town would be cut in half. People are like, Andrew, what's your favorite Netflix show? Favorite show? I thought all you could get was Wheel of Fortune. There's a lot of analytics for online videos these days. But honestly, the only analytic that I want to know is how many people die every year watching do-it-yourself home remodeling videos on YouTube. Like, I'm not an electrician, but handling copper wires around an outlet without turning off the power first, this seems like someone's going to die. I was shopping for a toy for my kid the other day, and I saw a toy pressure cooker. The whole point of a pressure cooker is to not do anything. How do kids even play with this? Let's see. Let's put the lid on and, well, let's go do something else. So I have terrible handwriting. And when I was a kid, teachers would give me a tough time about it. They'd hold up my paper and say, Andrew had an interesting paper. I can tell it's his because it's totally illegible. You can't argue with some of the things he said, though, like, but it has come in handy later on in life. Like, I don't have to save passwords online. I just write them down. If somebody broke into my house and saw a piece of paper that had my bank account password on it, they'd say, hey, look, here's his bank account password. You guys have been great. My name's Andrew Bork. Thank you.
Andrew Bork. I mean, that sounds like a secure password to me, for sure. Very secure. And great job, Andrew. Great stand-up debut. Make sure you come out to Gotham soon. Your next comedian performing on this screen in front of your face made his stand-up debut at Gotham on Friday. This is first online show with ACI from Philadelphia. This is Sam Sanders.
Hello, Internet. So I recently bought some IKEA furniture and I was struggling to put it together. And it made me realize something important about myself. I should never go to war. If my drill sergeant said to me, Sanders, here's your rifle, I'd be like, does it come with instructions, sir? Are these instructions in English? Wait, does it include all the screws that are needed? Wait, sorry, which end is up? As Michaela said, I grew up in Philadelphia and I love Philadelphia. You know, the people there are really go-getters. Where I currently live now, though, it's very different. The people are just so humble. They're so polite and so modest. You know, nobody takes credit for anything. I currently live in Washington, D.C. You know, earlier I was discussing war, and speaking of D.C. and war, I've gotten more involved in politics lately. I had a friend running for local office, and I donated $100 to his campaign, and he lost. And I want my money back. I mean, I didn't get anything. So from now on, I am going to have two criteria when donating to a candidate. One, I have to agree with them on the issues. And two, win or lose, I want to get a hat. You know, one of the things I learned about politics is you'll never feel alone if you donate $5 to Bernie Sanders. You'll hear from him every day, and you'll feel so needed. You know, according to Bernie, my $5 is going to stop global warming. You know, so I read recently around the country that some cities have started ranked choice voting. And I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's where you not only vote for your first choice candidate on a ballot, but you vote for your second and third choice candidates as well. And just like wonder how that makes the candidates feel. You know, isn't that like going to your parents and being like, Mom and Dad, I love you so much. You are the best parents in the whole wide world. And number two are the Millers. And then three are the Jeffreys. You know, ranked choice voting it's an important political innovation, though. I love ranked choice voting for politicians. Like, I love a buffet. I can go back for seconds and thirds. And then at the end, I feel like throwing up. And then 2 years later, I'll go back and I'll be like, let's do this again. You know, everything has gotten so political now. It's just so hostile and so argumentative. I wouldn't be surprised if I turned on Sesame Street and there would be the count being like, I want to lower your taxes by 1. No, 2. And then Cookie Monster would be on the other side going, this was no time to cut taxes, Count. Cookie Monster wants more support for Ukraine. Cookie Monster wants a public option for healthcare. Thank you so much, everyone. My name's Sam Sanders. It's been a blast being here.
Sam Sanders. Why does Cookie Monster sound like Bernie Sanders, Sam? I didn't make that. Interesting. Interesting stuff. I do believe you can change global warming with $5, because if you get enough $5, you just fan it down, cool it off. That'll work for sure. For sure. Your next comedian coming to the screen is like my neighbor. She's also from New York. Very, very funny. Please give it up for the wonderful Marissa Acosta.
Hey everybody. So I'm a little nervous to be here tonight because I just don't want my parents to know that I'm doing stand-up. My dad would just go absolutely crazy if he knew, because that's all he's ever wanted me to do. So I'm not even kidding. When I was in high school, he pushed me to do this exact workshop and I refused. So he said he would do it with me. Because that would make it better. So we did it, and it turned out to be a complete disaster because I was just so much funnier than him. And I thought, oh my God, now I'll never get out of doing this. So here I am. Every so often, I just kind of do this to make my parents happy. So a little bit about me. I recently broke up with my boyfriend because we fought all the time. And then after we broke up, we still fought all the time. He kept claiming that I was his live-in ex-girlfriend when clearly he was my live-in ex-boyfriend. And he just kept insisting, he kept repeating the same lame argument over and over again, that he owns the apartment. So, I just couldn't take the fighting anymore and I moved out. So, I was homeless for a few weeks, camping out on friends' couches. But that was not my worst living experience in New York. The worst living experience I ever had was in this gorgeous Upper West Side apartment. It was my first apartment ever in New York. I rented it with a friend. Who also moved from California. And so, we had heard that apartments in New York City were tiny, but this one was just so roomy. There was tons of room for me, for my roommate, Michelle, and for all of the rats. So one morning, this rat comes darting out from under my sink into my roommate's room. And so we are freaking out. And then she goes, okay, I'll see you later. Gotta go to work. Bye. Don't worry, I got this. So I called the super and, he'd already made me feel uncomfortable in the past. I personally did not view it as a perk that he offered to do my laundry. But anyway, he comes up to my apartment with a baseball bat and he starts banging our walls and calling out to the rats. And so then this very nice, sweet, frail old gentleman from next door, he hears the noise and he comes over and he asks what we're doing. And I said, oh, the super's here just trying to get rid of the rats. And then this guy goes, oh, that's not how you get rid of rats. Wonderful. How do you get rid of rats? And he tells me in earnest, with a crowbar. So that obviously wasn't going to work for me. But, thankfully something happened in the apartment that took my mind off of it. We got roaches. And the roaches were worse than the rats because there was a lot more than them. And the rats had the courtesy once in a while to leave. And so, I'm what you would call a New York City optimist. And I thought that maybe the rats would eat the roaches. They don't. Fortunately, COVID saved us, and we abandoned the apartment for 6 months. And we moved back to California. And when we came back, there was not a single rat or roach in our apartment alive. And so that was when my roommate and I realized that we were now the caretakers of probably the largest graveyard in Manhattan. So yeah, moving from one friend's couch to another, no problem. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you see my dad, tell him that you think I'm funny.
Marissa, I see your dad every day. We're like best friends.
You're so lucky.
I've never been. I actually am lucky because the rats in my apartment stay in the walls. I've never seen. I hear them though. They are hearable. Whew, anyway, your last comment coming to the screen. Well, actually, before I bring her up, I want to say our next workshop is going to be starting on April 11th, and it's going to be March next month. Whoa, our March workshop starts on March 14th. Our show is going to be at St. Mark's Comedy Club this month on March 26th. We hope to see you there if you're in the New York City area. And now I bring to you our final performer of the night, all the way from Portland, Oregon. This is the very funny Piper Davis.
All right. With that new, I'm not quite sure about this background actually. But anyway, so I started thinking about writing jokes about menopause. And, it's a tough subject. So I thought, well, I'll see what other comedians are saying about it. So I searched comedians who talk about menopause. The first hit on YouTube, fucking YouTube, is some dude who's, his bit is menopause is worse than PMS. How the fuck does he know? But his glaring lack of inexperience didn't stop him from mansplaining his wives. Hot flashes, sleeplessness, memory loss, lack of sex drive, weight gain, inexplicable rage, and shopping sprees? Not understanding it. Anyway, annoyed, I played another YouTube video. This one was made by a woman. Her, shtick came from a little more experience, but it's still focused on sleeplessness, memory loss, rage. But then she went on to talk about exotic treatments for her symptoms, from horse hormones to soybeans. And I'm like, sisters, this is a hormone shift, not cancer. In fact, most people who call menopause is really perimenopause, which is the time leading up to menopause when biologically female humans might experience the hot flashes, memory loss, loss of sex drive, blah, 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 that menopause is so famous for. But menopause itself is just one day exactly after a year since your last period. And what comes after that day? Postmenopause. And the thing is, no one talks about how fucking awesome it is. I mean, come on. First of all, you're done with all that perimenopausal shit. So goodbye, hot flashes, memory loss, rage, lack of sex drive, blah, blah, blah. Second, you can have all the sex you want with a man and not worry about getting pregnant. And finally, postmenopausal women are awesome. You see, once you've been freed from the hot flashes, sleeplessness, memory loss, not to mention children, you have all sorts of time to be a fucking badass. And I know that I am relieved that on top of everything that she has had to deal with over the last 12 years, Nancy Pelosi has not had to deal with a pregnancy scare. So you can tell I might be a little bullish on menopause. That is, except for the painful penetrative sex. So I complained to my gynecologist. She's like, it's not a problem. I'm going to prescribe some estrogen and a dilator. I'm like, estrogen and a dilator. Okay, estrogen, I understand, a dilator. I'm like, what? And she hands me this box and this. And the instructions on the box read, lubricate, they're in Spanish, by the way, luckily I speak Spanish, lubricate and insert in vagina for 10 minutes every day. So I have never been squeamish about penetration, but just one fucking look at this thing and I feel violated. And I'm like, I just want to have comfortable sex with David, not a fucking horse. So I look at the doctor and I'm like, could I start with a vibrator? Maybe. So she shakes her head, and on my way home, I stop by my neighborhood women-owned sex toy boutique, She-Bop, and buy my first vibrator. I have no idea why I waited so long. Anyway, I just want, I don't want you to think I spent the whole pandemic playing with sex toys. I also got a puppy. His name is Pablo. And Pablo's the kind of dog who likes to discover toys all over the house. He loves shoes. I mean, the laces, oh my God, how delicious. He likes toilet paper, a sweaty sports bra. He's really a found object kind of guy. The other night, we're having people over for dinner, and I'm feeling quite smug because my big, huge puppy is upstairs quietly entertaining himself. But then all of a sudden, all 110 pounds of him come tumbling down the stairs. He hits the landing. Everybody looks. And there, like a fucking adolescent erection, is the pink tip of my vibrator sticking out of Pablo's mouth. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, he's a good boy. So how can you tell if someone's gluten-free? You don't have to worry about it. They'll always tell you. And the thing is like, where were they before the year 2000? And why does the plague seem to be so virulent in communities that are like white, female, upper middle class, and skinny? But the thing that really bugs me about people who identify as gluten-free is how much it bugs me. Why the fuck do I care? I just don't know, but I can't help it. I'm a truth seeker. And there's so many inconsistencies. There's the mind fog, the bloating. I'm like, well, that sounds like perimenopause to me. And anyway, what the fuck is bloat? I'm like, I think about a dead deer on the side of the road, but women may feel bloated. But anyway, and how did they get such an amazing brand refresh to be, it's not a disease, it's an identity. It's I'm gluten-free, not I'm allergic to gluten. Anyway, I think those kids who are allergic to peanuts would love it if they could be peanut-free, but the problem is they have to have allergies, so we all know they could die if they have a peanut. Thank you. You guys have been great. Went a little long. Thank you so much. I'm Piper Davis. Good night.
Nice job, Piper. That was our show. Thank you all so much for watching and for tuning in. We do this every month. We usually do the online every month. And for sure, we have our live shows as well in New York City. So please follow us on Instagram at ACI Comedy, on Twitter, on Facebook. We have all of the things. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope to see you back here really soon. Have an amazing, Monday? Have a great week. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much for watching.